Welcome to the garage. My name is Brian Sanchez, and this is the F1 Rundown podcast. Going to break down the news, the headlines, and stories coming into the 2024 Saudi Arabian Grand Prix. We just finished watching qualifying, and it is so great to finally have some on-track things to talk about after a week of headlines and stories revolving around all of the Red Bull controversies of whether or not Christian Horner is going to keep his job and Max leaving and all of that. There's a small development in that we'll get into in a moment, but watching cars go around track is what we're here for. We love to see it, even if the results at times are a little predictable. But there's some intrigue. A little bit down the order, down the grid, so we'll get into all of that. But like I said, coming into the weekend, the big storylines surrounding Red Bull. If you haven't watched our last couple of episodes, we talked about the controversy and the accusations of Christian Horner and the inappropriate messages and photos and things that were exchanged with a female member of the staff. Some statements have been made calling for, changes to be, had, and we dived into all of that. You can go back and listen to our last two episodes to get the full details. There hasn't been any huge announcements or changes made, but the one thing that was announced yesterday, we found that Red Bull has suspended the employee that initiated the complaint. And this is very, very strange to me. After everything that's come out and a leak of images and text messages and messages that got out last week about what was being said and done behind closed doors, and after the investigation was apparently found that no further action was needed, and but it's all kind of been behind closed doors, and to now hear that they have suspended the person who initiated the complaint, it feels suspicious to me. It feels very weird, and I think we're going to need to see this report. I'm really hoping that a lot more people start to call for a release of this report. We need to know the details here, because if this is going to continue to play out, and someone is now being blamed for either lying or fabricating stories or covering things up, we're going to need more details as this moves forward. But again, the only thing we know is that the initial person who filed the complaints has been suspended with pay, but in fact suspended. So, we'll keep an eye on that story. But I want to focus more on some on-track things. And throughout free practice, we had a mixture of Fernando Alonso put it up on the top of the times in FP2, and the Red Bulls looked fast, the Ferraris looked fast, and then of course this Friday morning, since the race is on Saturday because of Ramadan, we got some news that Carlos Sainz is not going to be racing in this race. Diagnosed with appendicitis, was rushed to the hospital into surgery. As of right now, the last thing we heard was that surgery went well. He's doing well. He's recovering. So thankfully, that's always great news to hear. Whether you're a fan of Ferrari or not, people's health and safety is always paramount. And so we wish him a speedy recovery. In his place, however, is the rookie Oliver Bearman. And this is Ollie Bearman's first stint in an F1 car, and it came in FP3 with less than an hour's worth of running time total in that session, and had to go and qualify in that Ferrari, in one of the fastest cars on the grid. So, good on him for being able to, at the drop of a hat, waking up in the morning and not knowing that you're going to be driving a Formula One car, getting to the track and learning that, hey, hey kid, it's on you. That's a lot of pressure. And he performed very, very well. So, we shall see how he does come race time. He looked a little uncomfortable at times, like he was getting used to the car, but qualified 11th, got out of Q1, made it into Q2, and almost gets it into Q3, going P11. That's very, very impressive. So, we'll keep an eye on his performance. But, Leclerc holding it down for the team, qualifying in P2. And of course, Max sticking it on pole. That's kind of going to be the nature of the season, I think. I think Max is going to be fighting for poles week in and week out, and one of the Ferraris will probably be challenging him. Checo qualifies in P3, so starting there. And I believe Fernando Alonso qualifies in P4 to lock out the second row of the grid. We would love to see some other cars other than the Red Bulls up at the top, but that's going to kind of be the nature of it. As far as, going down the grid, we won't go down every single team like we did last week in the previews for the Saudi Arabian Grand Prix. If there's news coming out of each camp, we'll definitely share it. Some interesting storylines, but Mercedes, kind of the same situation, a little unhappy with the car, didn't really have the strongest of showings all throughout the weekend. Same with McLaren, although I do think McLaren is a little bit quicker than they were showing in the early practices. They looked pretty solid in qualifying, but Oscar Piastri did smack the car on the wall a couple of times, and so that maybe compromised his qualifying. So we'll see how they can do in the race. Aston Martin, of course, Fernando Alonso sticking it on P4. Fantastic. And then here's the real questions for me. It's Alpine. More of the same from Alpine, unfortunately qualifying 17th and 18th, and it's just sad. It's frustrating to see a team with as much potential as they have just seemingly not able to get it together. And, they were the only team that came last weekend with upgrades from their testing package, and they kind of seem to be regressing. Again, did not look competitive, all throughout practice, and in qualifying just, wasn't really able to do it. Only out qualifying Zhou Guanyu, who with about 10 minutes left in FP3 wrecked into the wall and did massive damage to his car. And so the team was racing against the clock to try to get him back out for Q3, was not able to do so. They did get him out on track, but it was not with enough time for him to get around and start a flying lap. So unfortunately, it was close. He almost was able to get some, a time in. And then Logan Sargent, again, also was having issues and struggling. He had some problems. He had some damage to his car, minimized his running time, so he just wasn't able to get the tires in the right working window. And those are the only two cars that the Alpines out-qualified. So not a great start. So we'll see what they could do in the over the weekend. Visa Cash App RB, or VCARB as we call them around here. I think a lot was made of the tensions with Yuki Tsunoda last week and Daniel Ricciardo at the end of the race, but it didn't seem to really be carrying over into this weekend. They did not qualify the greatest. Yuki P9, okay, Daniel Ricciardo P14, so they'll be fighting at the edge of the points barrier there. We shall see, but Danny Rick didn't look all that great through practices. Neither did Yuki. So, we'll see. Hopefully they have some better race pace than their qualifying pace. Sauber, or as they're going to be called, very soon, Audi, announced today that, there is a new accelerated path to Audi taking over 100% ownership of the team. And I heard some rumblings that, the name change may even come a bit earlier than expected in 2025 as opposed to 2026. That's a developing story. I haven't really been able to find any more details on that, but that was mentioned on the Sky Sports broadcast. Somebody mentioned it. So digging into that, I'm all for it. I can't wait for Audi to show up on the grid. As much as I kind of really do love that steak car with the neon green livery, to see the Audi badge, the Audi branding on the grid is going to be fantastic. Again, Zhou Guanyu had a massive wreck at the end of FP3, and so he wasn't able to really get out for qualifying. So we'll see what kind of race pace they have. Valtteri Bottas didn't really look all that great either, but again, I think they have better race pace, I think, than they do qualifying pace. And then, for the last few years, I have been not a really strong supporter of Haas. Haven't really been impressed by much of what they've been doing, but Nico Hülkenberg had a mechanical issue, so he got through to Q2, but was not able to come out and get a lap in Q2, so he qualifies 15th. But his teammate Kevin Magnussen, 13th. They look okay. They look like they're starting to get a solid foundation that they can build on. So that bodes well for the only American team on the grid. So we shall see. Reliability issues definitely, but they're quietly sticking to their guns, and they're quietly just slowly improving, and that's all we can really ask for from a team. This is the kind of thing that you would hope that Alpine would be able to do here soon. So we shall see the developments at the back of the grid there with Haas, Alpine, Williams, and Sauber. Which ones of these teams can right the ship, as it were, and which ones can, continue to drown. So that leaves my predictions. And so I wrote some predictions down before qualifying. And then we watched qualifying, and my predictions seem to be a little crazy. But you know what? I'm going to stick with it. I'm going to stick with what I was thinking. I was expecting the McLarens to be a little bit quicker. And so my predictions, P3, Lando Norris. I think the McLarens have really good race pace. I think there could be some chaos and some drama ahead of them on the grid. Fernando Alonso putting it on P4 there kind of wrecks that plan a little bit maybe, but we shall see. I think the McLarens can be faster over the course of the race. It's gonna, Leclerc qualifying P2 leaves him alone. He doesn't have a teammate up there to kind of help fend off anyone, so he's going to be a little vulnerable. So if he ends up having brake issues or anything kind of like he did in the previous race, could have a problem. So P2, Max Verstappen. I know he's starting on P1. I know he is, the destroyer of worlds that he is right now. But Checo won this race last year, and I think he has a potential to do it again this year. At least maybe I'm just hoping. So that's my prediction for P1, Sergio Perez. P1. My friend Laura, I'm sure, will love that. She's a huge Checo fan, and as am I. I got faith. I got faith in my boy Checo. He needs a solid performance, and I think he's quietly been loading the guns, as it were, and he's going to take the win this weekend. At least I'm hoping. I don't know. Maybe I'm just hoping. But yeah, that's my predictions. Again, I did this before qualifying. Qualifying makes this a little bit more difficult, but I'm not going to change my answers. So P3, Lando Norris. P2, Max Verstappen. And P1, your winner of the 2024 Saudi Arabian Grand Prix, Checo Perez. That's going to do it today, folks. Let me know down in the comments who you guys think is going to win the race. Again, tomorrow's Saturday morning race. I'm kind of digging these Saturday morning races. I love it. I'm really, really excited. I'm going to be incredibly tired because we're going to a concert tonight, so we'll be home super, super late. Maybe a little hungover, who knows. But we'll be up bright and early to watch the race tomorrow. Let me know who you guys think is going to win. What are you excited about for Saudi Arabian Grand Prix? And we will be back on Monday afternoon with a recap of all the action. But thank you all so much for watching the video, listening to the podcast, subscribing, following along. I really do appreciate it. This is a show that's really, really close to my heart, and it should have been in video format a long time ago, but what's done is done. We're going to keep plowing away, and we're going to bring all the F1 content that we can as time goes on and share this fandom of this thing that we call Formula One. So anyways, I'll get out of here, y'all. Thank you so much. I really do appreciate it. And as always, get out of my garage.